if you're someone who casts, scoops, or hits, you probably know you do because all your friends tell you, but you don't know for the life of you how to fix it. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. And before we get into how to fix it, let's talk a little bit about what it is and why it happens in the first place. So casting, scooping, hitting, they're all different terms for essentially the same thing. And what we're talking about is an inefficient transfer of power of energy into the club. And that, I made that more complicated than it needed to be. You could get more out of your shot than you are because it's just not going in the right sequence to create power. And what we're talking about is when we watch really good players in transition from backswing to downswing, we see that their body will stretch out a little bit and they will create lag in their swing, and then that lag is stored and built as the energy stores up in the club and then it's released down into the head. And if you don't do that sequence of orders, if you let the club head go early or flip or scoop or anything like that, something happened along the way that's causing you to make up for it. Okay? And that's what we're talking about today. So when we talk about it, and we're just going to call it, hitting, if you will, but we're talking about an inefficient transfer of power. So now that we know what it is, we want to understand why this happens. We alluded to it just a second ago, but there's two things going on here that work together. And the first one is sequence. Okay, now sequence is what we were talking about with how great players, they load up their body, they go lower body, core, arm, club, they store that lag, and they release that energy. That's sequence. But the other side of it is stability. Now stability basically says while we're creating this good sequence, can all the parts of our body remain the way that they should? Can they remain stable? Can they do their job without all this excessive waste of energy? Because when you start to waste that energy and become unstable, your sequence goes and you start to cast, hit, and scoop. Okay, so they all play together off of each other. So the first thing we want to talk about is the sequence and how to get a good sequence. And this is a little three-step progression that I love using to help build proper sequence. And the first step is doing something called a Stork Twist. And a Stork Twist is a simple exercise to create stability and control, mainly through the core and through the pelvic area, which is really important for what we're talking about with sequence, using the ground and getting to turn through the shot. And then we can do a skater jump, which is a great explosive movement to build strength and coordination, especially when we're talking about sequence and proper transfer of energy. And then finally, we're going to do step and swings. And a step and swing is a simple little drill that you can do at home. You can do it at the course, you can do it on the range, you can do it with a ball, you can do it without a ball. It doesn't even need to be something like a wedge or an iron or anything like that. You could even do it with a putter, you could do it with a broomstick, you can do it with a rolling pin. Okay, so no excuses on being able to do step and swings. And then the other side of the coin is the stability piece. Okay, now with the stability piece, we want to do something like a Samson hold. And the Samson hold is going to really boost the stabilizers of the lower body. It's going to improve the mobility of your hips. It's going to build the coordination of your body and your balance and everything that we need to create the stability that we need to avoid cast, scoop, or hitting. Okay? And then we're going to do some plank shoulder touches. Okay, and these are amazing stability exercises for the core and for the upper body. So as good as the Samson is for the lower body, these are like that for the upper body. And then finally, we're going to do a little 5-minute, and I know 5 minutes is a lot, but it's an amazing little exercise here. It's a 5-minute single leg power progression. It's a lot of words. I'll explain how to do it in a little bit here, but we go through 4 different exercises as best we can in 5 minutes. If you can't make it to the next exercise, don't worry, try it again. You get better every time you do it. And even when you're good at doing it, it doesn't guarantee that you'll make it through all of the exercises. But you'll at least spend 5 minutes working on improving yourself and therefore your game. But this is kind of our plan of action for working on that dreaded casting, scooping, hitting motion. Because if you suffer from this, it's something that you're aware of, but you don't know how to take care of it. So let's go ahead and jump in so that you can start to fix it. Grab a golf club, everybody, because it's time for some Stork Twists. We're going to use our golf club for stability, but we don't want to rely on it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot and bring it up onto the inside of our left leg, both hands on the top of the club. We're going to try to rock our hips back and forth, side to side, keeping our foot flat and keeping our chest forward. Now the key here is making sure that it's the hip that's doing the turning, not just the knee pivoting. Okay, I'll show you an example on the other side. What we want to see is that the entire hip is what's doing the turning. You may feel like just pivoting this knee is doing something, but if you look at my belt buckle, it hasn't moved. So make sure it's the belt buckle that's doing that moving. Remember, this is just for stability. It's not a crutch. Try to keep your upper body stable, foot flat, and then move from that hip. And that's a Stork Twist. There are few exercises better than the skater jump when it comes to rotary power, coordination, sequence, you name it. What a skater jump is at its essence is a lateral side-to-side jump on one leg, but that leg switches. So I start on my right leg and I'm going to jump to my left leg with the goal of sticking that landing. Okay? If I jump too far and I shuffle or fall, it's a sign that I've jumped too far. I'm not ready for that. And so it's okay to start with small jumps where it's perfect and you really nail that landing, and then work into greater distances over time. But again, you want to stick the landing and you want to be able to hold that position under control for at least 3 seconds to make it count. Sometimes we need a simple way to find our rhythm or our feel or our tempo or to build a good sequence before we go out and play. And that's exactly what the step and swing is all about. And you don't even need a golf club to do it. You can use something like a wine bottle or a rolling pin if you really needed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our feet together. We're going to build a small stance, small swing. The club is going to start by going forward toward my target line. And then as the club comes back, I'm going to step with my lead foot, my left foot. So I go toward the target, back and step. And that's the first step. It's just to build that coordination, forward and back and step. And eventually we're going to add the through swing. So we go forward, back and step, turn with it. One more time, forward, back and step, turn with it. I want you to start with really small swings just like this, and then you can work yourself up into big swings that have a lot more power and speed, but don't just jump to it unless you get the coordination first. So if you're all over the place and stepping and it's looking weird and it's out of sequence, then this drill's not going to work for you. We want to start feet together, toward the target, back and step, turn through. Really getting that sequence, that time, the rhythm, and the flow. And that way, the step and swing will help your game. One of the best ways to unlock power is to unlock your hips. And one of the best ways to unlock your hips is to do a Samson lunge hold. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to get into a split stance. I'm going to start with my right foot forward. There is some space between my feet. They don't have to be in line with each other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take my hips and square them up so that my belt buckle is pointed where I want it to go. I'm going to try to get my feet pointed at 12 o'clock. Again, they don't need to be in line with each other, but I want them both pointed toward 12 o'clock. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to lower our chest a little bit, and we're going to try to tuck our tailbone, okay? And we're going to try to get it to lock in place by squeezing your butt. Once that's locked in, then we're going to start to open our chest and try to push this hip forward. And the goal of this stretch is to push this hip forward. Now, this alone is a great position to hang out in. We're feeling some tension in the front of your left hip. Butt is contracted, feeling strong. And if you're feeling really good, you can go up onto your toes, get your heels off the ground, and then really try to push your toes away from each other and really focus on opening this spot of the hip up, squeezing your butt, and staying tall with your posture. Hang out here for 1, 2, 3 minutes and then switch it up and do the other side. Simple as though it may be, Heel raises are a great way to warm up your calves before you do some mobility on them. Simple enough. Toes are forward, 12 o'clock. I raise my heels, I put them back down. I'm trying to go smooth and under control. I don't want it to be too jerky. We're just going to spend time up and down. And that's just about it. It's as simple as that. You're going to feel really good working in the lower part of your legs, and it's a great prep work for doing things on your calves or your ankles. What we need to do is have something like a timer on it that we can set for 5 minutes. And while that timer is counting down in those 5 minutes, we're going to go through a series of 4 exercises, progressing from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, getting as far as we can in that 5 minutes. Now, it's not guaranteed that you'll finish. The goal is to either spend 5 minutes working or to complete it as quickly as you can, but again, you may not finish it. So what are the 4 exercises? Level 1 is balancing with your eyes open for 10 seconds per leg. So I balance, left leg is flat to the ground, balance on the right leg, 10 seconds. Cool. Check that one off and move on. Let's try it with the left leg. Balance, 10 seconds. Check it off, move on. Now we're at level 2. I'm going to go back to my right leg. I'm going to do 10 single leg toe touches. So my leg starts flat, I bend down, and I come back up. That's 1. I bend down, I come back up. That's 2. If you need to, you can go to just your knee to scale this exercise. Makes it a little bit easier. Now the key is this. If you shuffle or fall or hop, you need to start that exercise over. Okay, so in this case, let's say on my 3rd, I stumble. Great. I'm going to start back over at number 1. Now, let's say I just finished. Okay, 9, 10. This is my last one. Right leg is done. Perfect. Check it off. Move on. Don't worry about it. Get to my left leg. Let's say we go 1. Let's say on the 2nd one, oh, I fell. I don't need to go back to the right leg. It's already done with. Just start over the left leg. The 3rd level of exercise is to balance on your right leg again, but this time with your eyes closed. 10 seconds, no hopping, shuffling, or falling. Go to your left leg, do the same thing. And then if you can, we're getting to the level 4 exercise, and this is where it gets fun, because you might have some time left on your timer, and you're just going to see how well you can do. We're going back to single leg toe touches, but this time eyes are closed. Okay, and this is really, really challenging, but that's the purpose of this exercise. You're not always guaranteed to finish, and even if you have the strength and coordination to finish, it doesn't mean you'll finish every day because of the time aspect of it. Okay, so we do 10 on one leg, 10 on the other. If you complete it, great, you see how much time you have remaining. If not, don't worry, it's really hard. Okay, you will get there eventually if you keep up with it and keep practicing. But there's very few challenges that are going to get you the same results as this one. Now, as a little added bonus, this would be a great time to do some speed training with something like a speed stick. If you found any of this information helpful, please go to tourshotgolf.com to check out and learn more. And then check me out on the social medias at Facebook. Come into my free Facebook group, the Mobilitas Movers, or check me out on Instagram or YouTube, both at TourShotGolf. Move better, play better.